Our journey continues here in Jerusalem with a search for the Ark of the Covenant.
The Ark of the Covenant, a golden chest believed to be powerful and sacred, has been a symbol of supernatural narrative for the Jews and the Christians for millennia. This Ark has also captured the minds of people worldwide and has been the cause of controversies. With continuous regional wars over centuries, the Ark of the Covenant has been lost in time. But in a recent exploration, scientists from the Antarctica explorer have found something that will spice up the story about the Ark. Is it possible that the Ark of the Covenant is in Antarctica? What impact will this recent discovery have on the Jewish and Christian communities? Join us as we delve into how scientists found the Ark of the Covenant in Antarctica. The Ark of Covenant. Biblical texts recorded that the Ark of the Covenant has supernatural power, which subsequently became inseparable from miracles like the Red Sea parting and the wall of Jericho falling. Yet, despite its disappearance in 587 BC, the Ark has remained the object of curiosity and searches by explorers, archaeologists, and relic hunters for centuries. The search went on, and finally it was victorious when a miracle of discovery came from researchers in Antarctica. Then came a clue to find the hidden Ark, not without the company of a very old bronze scroll. This scroll, it appears, holds secrets, the Ark's saga and the political intrigues that eventually led to its landing in the frigid south. The announcement has set alight the zeal of many millions who look up to the Ark as the bearer of their ancient religious belief. Being a fantastic achievement, it not only answers the mystery of the Ark's disappearance, but also gives us an incredible glimpse into the Ark's precious historical and cultural value. The story of the Ark of the Covenant lives on in our hearts, and this new version is set to reshape this everlasting symbol. Our journey commences with the Ark of the Covenant, a mythical object all bedecked in gold, which was probably created around 3,000 years ago by the Israelites. In this amazing chest that resembled a 19th century seaman's chest, the entire stone tablets were inscribed by God Himself. For centuries, this has been a strong symbol of faith and indeed the presence of God. In 587 BC, it went out of sight, and this led to relentless efforts by scholars and archaeologists to recover the Bible's most important relic. The Ark was made of wood and decorated with golden angels, as well as 2 poles used for its carrying during the journeys of the Israelites. Many miracles were said to have happened during these journeys regarding the Ark, as witnessed by the people. It was reported to have scattered all the difficulties on their way, to have saved them from dangers, and to have even made the Jordan River pass by. The siege of Jericho, with the circling Ark for 7 days, supposedly represented the destruction of the city walls, exhibiting the extent of its power. Within its sacred confines resided the Ark's true significance. Those tablets themselves, a pot of manna, and Aaron's rod. These items only strengthened how the Ark functioned as a symbol for the establishment of the divine covenant and the authority of religion. The most visible sign was the Ark of the Covenant, which symbolized the divine covenant between God and the children of Israel through Moses. But the other side of the story is that God carved these commandments on 2 stone tablets as a promise of blessings for obedience and a warning to obey these instructions, or else face the consequences. This is the statement of purpose of the covenant that shaped the core of Israelite law and religion. In accordance with God's plan, Moses was commanded to build the ark from acacia wood and cover it with gold. Hence, the ark was transformed into an emblem of divinity and holiness. At first, it was put in the Holy of Holies' innermost sanctuary, and then it was moved to the site of the Jerusalem temple. The ark always retained supreme authority during all these times, as an emblem of the presence of God and of His laws. It symbolized the prophecies and cautionary statements that they received and how they conveyed their faith. Since the recent discovery of the Ark among the icebergs of Antarctica, religious and scientific opinions have been subject to heated discussion. Let us take a brief look at the history of the Ark. What is the significance and symbolism associated with the Ark? The Ark's mystifying significance. Unlike every idol of the gods, the Ark of the Covenant had a unique religious meaning. It was not simply an object, but a holy place where there was an encounter with the divinity, and only through priests could this be accomplished. They were his presence in the Ark of the Covenant, and he dwelt there even in their absence. However, the main thing here is a deep meaning. The biblical commandments, etched henceforth, would become the visible sign of God's nearness and might. So, the Ark became the covenant, a physical thing reminding people of the great, unbreakable agreement between God and nature. It gave them a feeling of duty and determination to always adhere to the divine law. These weren't mere rules, but the laws that represented and determined their way of life. The Ten Commandments embodied God's character and desires for his people: charity, grace, righteousness, and devotion. Please contribute with the correct answer in the comment section. He was desirous that these essential traits should be part of their loving relationship with him and their dealings with others. The Ark was thus an icon indicating that God elected them to be a special and holy nation, the like of which was not only his own, but must be a teaching example to others as a kingdom of priests. Usually it was kept in the tabernacle in a fringed way, yet this piece was not mere fabric. Amidst the rare materials, fine vessels, and framework, it was a mighty partition between the outer holy place and the innermost holy place, where the Ark and, in there, the golden capital represented God's presence. The prophet did not separate it from the New Testament, but quite to the contrary, the veil, as if golden, took on a bigger meaning. When Jesus died on the cross, a remarkable event occurred. The temple veil was torn in two, as found in Mark chapter 15, verses 37 to 38. This signified access to God through Jesus' sacrifice, which, surprisingly, was formerly confined to permitting entry to the tabernacle only. Since the Ark of the Covenant had power from the spiritual sphere, it was a unique artifact. Analogously, entry to the sacred space called the tabernacle was strictly reserved for a small group of Levite priests in the old days, and they had to observe rigorous separation rules just to be in its vicinity. Kept inside the divinely built tabernacle and made by dexterous artists, the Ark was in the Holy of Holies, the innermost chamber. Also, only on the Day of Atonement could the high priest pray or enter, as custom excluded him from doing so for the rest of the year. Since its disappearance has been speculated about for centuries, various theories have arisen about supposedly determining its place and final state. And now, we will explore the most thrilling hypotheses about the Ark's mysterious nature. The Ark, a modern-day technology. As mentioned in the Bible, the Ark was a great power, both amazing and dangerous. Its presence alone made it necessary that 2,000 cubits, or a half-mile distance, be established from the camp of the Israelites, and any unfortunate contact with it was equivalent to even instant death or extreme agony. However, upon closer examination of its biblical depiction, including its construction, appearance, sound, and lethal effects, some scholars propose a non-supernatural explanation: advanced technology. Does the Ark resemble technology in any way, or is it supernatural? The biblical descriptions show that the Ark's power was both good and bad. Proximity could be fatal. However, a closer examination of its construction, appearance, and effects suggests a possible alternative to supernatural explanations: state-of-the-art technology. One fascinating theory is that the Ark was made as an electrical capacitor. The capacitors, usually made of two conductive plates separated by an insulator, could be thought of as something that could explain the Ark's unique properties. This would make gold plating represent conductive plates and wood chests, the insulators. This theory has the most hypotheses and the absence of empirical evidence. The manner of its creation, described in the Bible, evokes exciting fantasies. Might it have been so much more than just a religious symbol? Therefore, if true, the theory suggests that the ark, covered with gold inside and outside, functioned as an electricity conductor. This raises a fascinating question. Might it have only stored or given back electrical energy? Think about the ark, which can cause a storm or produce electric shocks. The events, without the scientific explanation, would have been believed to be signs of divine influence. Such a theory may describe the fate of Uzzah, who died after touching the ark. He may have been killed by a discharge of electricity. This reconstruction portrays the ark differently. This makes the statue a mystical religious object and a technical masterpiece over 2,000 years old. The intricate design and materials used in its creation demonstrate this even more. The consequences of giving such a tool to the hands of the ancient Israelites are huge. If it employed advanced technology, it would provide them with a good practical and symbolic advantage. These artifacts gave them the power to define their history and cultural identity in a way never possible. Despite this theory being hypothetical, it still provides food for thought regarding the nature of the Ark of the Covenant. It calls into question conventional views and introduces new paths that might shed light on the mysterious nature of the object and its place in history. On the contrary, did such electric discharges radiate divine power to the Israelites, entailing fear and awe in their enemies and deepening their faith in the lordship of their God? A communication device or nuclear power? Another interesting suggestion is that the Ark was not the only machine, but rather a divine way of communication. In the Bible, God is mentioned as speaking from above the mercy seat between the two cherubs. Could these two cherubim with a large surface area have served a role as antennas, converting electrical energy into radio waves? Of course, the gold coating might have been useful in terms of the transmission of those waves. However, this is where the theories come out. The other side proposes that the Ark was equipped with nuclear energy, including uranium. It would have been like nuclear fission, releasing vast amounts of energy, which could in turn be used to power devices or to make weapons. Why do so many people admire and dread the Ark of the Covenant? Although these hypotheses seem vague for now, they are nevertheless very exciting, subverting the existing understandings and exploring curiosity about this unknown body. The Ark likely held more than merely symbols and traditions, and there might have been some secret technology that lay beyond their comprehension. The mystery of the Ark of the Covenant remains, and they are spinning tales beyond what could have just been a power unit or communication device. One was the Wall of Jericho. The excitement of Jericho after the Israelites marched around them with the Ark and the trumpets has always been the center of attraction until now. One of the hypotheses is that the Ark contains radioactive management that reacts to sound waves that the weak support walls could not withstand. This is consistent with the fact that the high priests who handled the Ark wore metallic breastplates and aprons. They clad themselves in these items, trying to get some protection against radiation. Moreover, the storyline of the rope around a priest who was advancing towards the Ark is symbolic of the safety procedure if the radiation level is exceeded, which could cause death. Thus, the body can be safely removed without increased radiation exposure. Intriguingly enough, according to the book of Samuel, the Israelites brought the Ark into war with the Philistines, thinking it would serve as a protective sign from God, miraculously ensuring a glorious victory for them. Therefore, it was not God who ordered the Ark to be lifted. The Israelites brought out the Ark, but they suffered a major day of defeat, and the Ark was even captured. This could mean either the power of the Ark, if radiation was the reason behind it, wasn't that absolute, or the creators didn't have control of it. This theory still has a lot of gaps because it cannot prove the case strongly beyond the research and needs more historical or archaeological evidence. Nevertheless, they help present the harbor as an inspiration in which visualization is strongly pushed beyond the borders and raises questions about the ark's nature and aim. Similar to radiation burns and sometimes sickness, it has been written that when the Philistines stole the ark and brought it to the city of Ashdod, tumors developed, and there was discomfort for the residents. They related it to a curse caused by the ark's presence, which ended in the neighboring towns again, but the problems didn't vanish. Eventually, the Philistines sent back the ark to the Israelites along with the offerings, and this time, they admitted something. The ark was so powerful that they wanted to get it off the land. The ark was then placed in the tent of abode, called the tabernacle, a portable tent made of woven fabrics with gold adornments. The arks had been enveloped in another matryoshka-like structure, which was believed to be too dangerous for a direct gaze. The path of the ark goes on, interspersed with admiration for greatness and grief over the fall. However, once it came back from the Philistines, some people who were driven by curiosity ignored warnings by the Almighty as they looked into the ark. As punishment, YHWH had all 70 of them slain in response. This incident illustrated the ark's holy power and served as a warning against transgressing its boundaries. The Israelites worship the ark with reverence and God as the most powerful source after they have a time of stable peace. They believe in their unshakable faith. They then transferred it to Jerusalem, where a temple of great beauty and majesty was constructed to house it. Placed deep inside the Holy of Holy chamber, the ark was important to them and their religious life, which was to remain there for over 300 years. Yet the ark's tale in 587 BC ended very differently. After 30 gloomy months, Jerusalem, the victim of one battle after another with the Babylonian army, collapsed. Having defeated the Babylonians, they did not save the temple alone by taking away its treasures and leaving it in ruins. However, they also diligently stated their booty, leaving the Ark of the Covenant conspicuously out of their list. Disappearance of the Ark. This sparked centuries of speculation. Where has the Ark gone? Did the Babylonians hide it, or did it get destroyed, lost somewhere, or even a miracle send it elsewhere? After all, the exact reason for its construction continues to be cloudy in the concealed answer, which adds further mystery to the important and mysterious legacy of the Ark. The fact that no historical document is written about the Ark leads to the irresistible temptation to fantasize about its course. Unless the Babylonians held it as a trophy, who took the tablet and what happened to it is a mystery. Some others believe that the Copper Scroll, the oldest Dead Sea Scroll, will solve this riddle. In contrast to other writings, which were on papyrus, and thus similar to the most frequently mentioned religious tales, this specific scroll on the copper offers something completely different. The expert, Professor Jim Barfield, claims that the text on the Copper Scroll is more like instructions for finding secret treasures from the Temple of Solomon, and may include the Ark itself. According to his exploration, clever people took these items away from the city at the time of the Babylonian invasion. The Ark of the Covenant might have been among those. Scripture is mentioned on 2 different occasions by the writer for good luck, with the Book of 2 Maccabees also pointing to the prophet Jeremiah as the leader of this secret scheme. But Barfield's theory is really amazing, and only a theory. Other arguments are that the Ark itself was in Jerusalem or was taken abroad to Ethiopia or other places where there are claims that it still resides. The whereabouts of the Ark are now a mystery. Even as we imagine, however, it could be concealed. Under the Temple Mount exists a maze of underground tunnels, albeit none so far revealed as escape routes from the temple itself. However, in 2007, a discovery shook the scene. An old tunnel had been uncovered, given that it extended from the Temple Mount across the Kidron Valley to other locations outside the city. Such developments, however, picked up the speculations, particularly the idea of the Ark being delivered to the town of Qumran, where the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered by accident. However, the Copper Scroll lists 64 potential hiding spots for treasures in and around Qumran, and one site specifically mentioned having steps east 40 cubits long, beneath which lies over 1,000 pounds of silver. According to Professor Barfield, motivated by his theory, he has identified these steps and even another location mentioned in the scroll, which has a well and courtyard buried beneath. The emergence of the tunnel, however, furthered the quest and fueled the controversy over the intriguing items in the copper scroll. Could Qumran have the answer to where the Ark is kept? Or are these hints just the next chapters in this sacred item's charming and long-lived mystery? The hunt for the Ark brings us to more secret courtyards, buried wells, and perhaps even a sealed cave. The copper scroll refers to the secrets of Qumran. It mentions a site with 33 tons of gold. According to Professor Barfield, the courtyard and the well-mentioned elements in the document lead to the Ark. Eager to excavate, he faces an obstacle. Access is denied. Unbowed, he returns with a metal detector in hand, made to pick only gold and silver. Getting closer, the device starts acting erratically, revealing that treasures are buried. Approved digging continues to be hard to obtain, which makes him consider a third possible site, a nearby cave with a strangely closed doorway. He picks up a piece of rock from the entrance and makes the analysis. The intriguing results are that the stone is man-made mortar, sharing the same formula used then. This implies a conscious building process, adding to the legends about concealed treasure troves. However, challenges remain. But to start digging, he requires official permission, and even when presented with intriguing records, getting authorization seems problematic. The search for the Arks becomes a complex mix of archaeological, cultural, and political issues. The search for the Ark takes another turn as the cave with the positive metal readings appears to be sealed. The question was, why do they seal a seemingly random cave? As Professor Barfield's metal detector kept screeching close to the sealed cave, his persistence on the whereabouts of the Ark increased. Nevertheless, even though there is more than enough evidence, obtaining the proverbial permission for an excavation still proves hard. Most historians were not convinced of the authenticity of the cave, but admitted that if the Ark is not in Qumran, then there is a possibility that it does not exist anymore. Additionally, some suggest that the Ark could have been taken by the Knights Templar, a Catholic military order that is mysterious. The Ark and the Knights Temple. The Knights Templar were known for their secretive practices, formidable powers, and influential role in politics, and all these began with the Crusades. Is it possible that the Ark had been in the hands of the Knights during their military campaigns in the Holy Land? And if that's true, what happened to it? Although theories and speculations are plentiful, the truth lies underneath layers of history, culture, and political complications. Certainly one day, the final resting place will become known. Until it is found, and we know its real contents, the Ark of the Covenant will still spark exploration and argument and remain a strong symbol of belief. With their reputation for secrecy and influence, the Knights Templar are a Catholic military order that has become the focus of many people's speculations about their possible role in the fate of the Ark. In the beginning, the Templars gained credibility by promising to safeguard the Christian pilgrims going to Jerusalem. However, they soon relocated their forces to the Temple Mount, which reverted their priorities. According to the legends, they undertook many excavations, not as treasure hunters, but as religious seekers, aiming only to locate the Ark of the Covenant. They have special expertise in using caves and tunnels, thus adding to the fire. The recent excavations at Zedekiah's cave yielded a structure resembling a Templar guardhouse, which might imply other possible escape routes. Thus, it supports the assumption that they were actively looking for something that could be hidden beneath the Temple Mount. According to rumors, the Templars discovered the Ark and brought it to a European headquarters, the Chartres Cathedral in France, where it remains. Nevertheless, we still cannot find enough proof to support this assumption. In the 14th century, the Templars' military power declined, but their wealth soared because they engaged in banking activities. Nevertheless, their challenge and the sense of their secrecy worried King Philip IV of France. Therefore, he launched a persecution against them, eventually ending their dissolution in 1312. The question remains, have the Templars possessed the Ark? Similarly, what will happen after its dismantling? These questions remain a motive for exploration and discussion, thus contributing to the strange but everlasting nature of the ship. The future of the Ark becomes even more dramatic since it deals with political intrigue, persecution, and possible relocation to Scotland. King Philip IV of France, very indebted to the Templars, organizes their fall. Under his control, the Pope declared the order heresy and confiscated their property in 1307. Templar knights are arrested, tortured, and put to death. But before that, they did something. What was it? Rosland Chapel and Oak Island. However, history has taught us that the Templars were not unprepared. The rumors state that they foresaw this and managed to move the Ark to Scotland the second time. There, they made a new ally in King Robert the Bruce, who was excommunicated by the Church and fighting against his troubles simultaneously. Allied with the mighty Sinclair family, the Templars set out to build another sanctuary for the Ark, Rosland Chapel. However, there might be a connection between the Ark, the Holy Land, and Rosland Chapel, which is interesting. The symbols and figures of the Knights Templar are woven into the grounds, and the layout mirrors the first Temple of Solomon and even has a Holy of Holies inside. These intriguing connections give credence to the idea that the Ark is buried below the mysterious floor of the chapel. Despite that, the evidence remains unclear. However, critics claim that the chapel was built long after the dissolution of the Templars, knocking out the Templars' alleged direct involvement. Some people, however, maintain that the apparent architectural similarities between the two could be a coincidence or have been inspired by other sources. Although no definitive proof has been found, the possibility of Rosland Chapel surely deepens the plot of the Ark. It identifies the potency of symbolism, the enchantment with shrouded knowledge, and the continuing attraction to this sacred item. The plot changes significantly when World War II breaks out. The Ark, supposedly protected in the Rosland Chapel, might be at risk of being endangered as Europe is engulfed in conflict. When the war ended, the search for the Ark started, particularly the Nazis, whose interest in the occult and religious artifacts made them keen on finding legendary relics such as the Spear of Destiny, the Holy Grail, and the Shroud of Turin were the ones who actively hunted for these relics. Through many archaeological digs in Europe, they were focused on unearthing possible hiding spots for these valuable possessions of other religions. When France fell, the story suddenly took a turn for the unexpected, thanks to the efforts of President Roosevelt, who ordered that the contents of Rosland Chapel be moved to the Americas for safekeeping. And where is the Ark supposed to have landed? Besides the United States and Nova Scotia in Canada, New Zealand and Scotland are included. To be a little more specific, the island is called Oak Island. Yet skepticism still accompanies its ever-present shadow. Questions about the Ark being in Rosland Chapel are still being asked, and there needs to be clear evidence that it was moved during the wars. Also, Oak Island has a history of treasure hunting expeditions, but they could only prove to have found where the Ark of the Covenant is. The Ark's journey starts with wartime intrigue and goes all the way to modern-day cases, touching on multiple possible hiding places and making ownership and authenticity issues come to the fore. Oak Island, encompassing the whole mystery with its underground tunnels, is the most probable place to hide anything. Others suggest places like the Vatican's archives, Mount Nebo in Jordan, the Hill of Tara in Ireland, or even a secret chamber underneath the Sphinx. These may be true, but the hard facts remain unknown. However, there is an argument that the Ark isn't concealed. Rumors spread about the mysterious place, and the recent assertion by scientists, which says that it was found in Antarctica, adds another element to the story. This raises questions of authenticity and intellectual property rights. If the Ark were found, who would have the right to possess it and keep it? Would it be the nation where it was found, a national institution, or even a private organization? Such implications can be complicated and involve cultural, political, and religious issues. One thing remains certain. Although over 2,000 years have passed, this sacred object continues to fascinate and captivate, serving as a reminder of the potency of faith, symbolism, and the human need to resolve historical mysteries. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. And to see more videos like this, click on the videos below